we're going to go over sleep and how to dominate, because sleep is obviously so important. So, is that all pretty clear for everyone?
Yep.
Ooh. What the? Apologies. All right, can you just see the thing, like the slideshow?
No, it's pretty clear. Yeah, pretty clear for me.
Cool. All right, so sleep. What are some common issues? Oh, are you there, John? Can you hear? Maybe just type in the chat just to confirm. But yeah, some common issues with sleep. Like honestly, sleep and sleep deprivation is the root of so many issues. Like these are just a couple. Is your immune system really lowering? That obviously that's not good in the current climate. Cognitive dysfunction, so a number, like pretty much most psychological issues. Sleep is huge for psychological repair and regeneration and getting your nervous system and your psychology working really well. Also even obesity, and like obviously the links between all of those, but obesity, because when we're tired we tend to eat more to compensate and try and increase energy. Basically, like, this is the truth: the shorter you sleep, the shorter your life. A good person to look up around sleep, if you want to dive into it and learn a lot more, is Matthew Walker. He's really cool. And John's just trying to jump in, but says he's on here. You there, John?
I am now. Sorry, I just couldn't figure out how to get the volume working. Sorry.
Oh, no, all good, mate. And you can click start video and we'll see your face too. Yeah, so we're just getting into sleep.
How do I do this? There we go. There we go. Can you see me now?
Here he is. Nice, certainly can. Looking good. All right, so yeah, and basically as well, we generally don't give sleep the respect that it deserves, because it's such a powerful thing. It's crazy how important it is for our health and for so many things. So the truth: optimize your sleep and you will notice a lot of positive benefits in your life. Simple stuff. Increased cognitive function, so increased ability to be able to think abundantly, think critically. Your mind will just work better. Your memory will be better. So many different things. Easier weight management, because obviously if you're not tired, you don't feel like you need to overeat. Increased immune system, better recovery from training. Like honestly, the list could just go on and on. So we really need to give sleep the respect it deserves and make it a high priority. Better sleep means better life, more recovery, better mental, emotional, physical health on all levels. And obviously better health means you show up better in life for your family, for, if you reconnect to why you want, why it's important for you to have quality health in the first place. So what is optimal sleep? This is a cool diagram that just sort of shows, I think, like a good way to look at it is, if we look back in history, when we didn't have houses and we lived in the bush and we're probably camping by a campfire, or even if you just think when you go camping, if you go camping, you might have a campfire, but if you don't take any artificial light, you pretty much have to align with the sun and the moon. So when the sun's up, it's light, and we tend to wake up and be ready to go. And once the sun goes down, you might have a fire for a while, but once it gets dark enough, it's kind of like, oh well, can't really do much now, might as well go to bed. So basically, think of sleep, and optimal sleep is really aligning with the rhythms of the world, circadian rhythms of the sun and the moon. So pretty much like how it's set up is when you wake up, when you first get up, two main hormones that sort of regulate sleep are going to be cortisol and melatonin. And what should happen is when you wake up, a couple hours after you wake up, cortisol should naturally peak. It should be at its peak in the morning. And then basically it's got a double half-life. So if it is high, it sort of takes twice as long to leave your system and go down. But it should slowly trickle down. And then, by the night time, be pretty low and stay steadily low all night until the next morning. Then it will peak again and go through the same cycle. Melatonin is pretty much the opposite. So it should be pretty low all day. And then as it starts to get dark, as you've got less light coming into your eyes, and as you start to wind down, it'll slowly creep up, should ideally stay pretty steady through the night and then drop off as the sun begins to rise again, and things start to get a bit lighter again, and then stay low all day. So that's sort of how that typically works, and what sort of optimum, what we want to really try and align with as closely as possible. But what happens, like especially in today's world, is like, yeah, cortisol might peak early in the morning, but then, the kids start going crazy, or the wife goes nuts, or the husband, or stuff, we have an argument. We start the day that way. Then we go to work and there's just lots going on, and we're always on our phone, or we're, like heaps of whatever stresses there are within your life, things that kind of tend to just hit like a little stress all day. Basically, rather than cortisol peaking in the morning, then slowly dripping down, it end up being, potentially quite high all day. Might even be higher at night than it was when you started in the morning. And then when it's time for cortisol to be, down low, so that you're really in a state where you're wound down, you're calmed down, you're more parasympathetic, you're actually still pretty wound up because cortisol is still quite high. And then that is basically going to ruin your sleep, like absolutely going to ruin your sleep, because you're primed, you're ready, you're in a sympathetic state where you're alert, and it's just, sleep's not going to work very well when you're like that. And then the opposite with melatonin. So melatonin, the hormone, really starts to increase as light exposure reduces into your eyes. So if we think about the sun and the moon again, as it starts to get dark, melatonin essentially starts to increase. But how we sort of spend our time a lot of the time now is our houses, and just even our workplaces, if we're working past sundown, are full of bright lights. We've got bright lights in every room. We've got the TV screen, we've got our phone screens, computer screens, etc., etc. And the other thing is, with this type of light, it's artificial light, and it sits at a much higher frequency as well. So it's a lot more penetrating to our eyes. The other thing with those kind of things is, if we've constantly got our attention on things on our phone or whatever else, it's not only reducing melatonin production, but it's also going to keep cortisol high because it's keeping on alert, if that makes sense. So can you see how we've sort of created a recipe for ourselves that just pretty much wrecks our sleep? Like it's a lot of this stuff just basically creates a recipe for crap sleep. So like just a quick bit on sleep. So basically, like how it sort of works is, we have sleep cycles of rapid eye movement sleep, and non-rapid eye movement sleep. And we go through a few different phases within each. But basically, rapid eye movement sleep is sort of like your dream state, where you're unconscious to the world, but other than that, you're still like your eyes work. You're sort of seeing things without your senses in a way. It's like your dream sleep. Non-rapid eye movement sleep is your deep sleep, where you're pretty much knocked out. So they're both super important. And like rapid eye movement is more around these things. So psychological repair, emotional reset, improving your creativity, this sort of stuff, integration of new information as well. Because it's sort of like taking the things you've taken from the world through your senses and running it through. That's why we tend to dream about things that we've seen or experiences that we've had or whatever else. It's trying to understand and go through the information that we've gotten from the external world. Non-rapid eye movement sleep is more physical repair, and also storage of new information. So actually integrating the information into our memory, this sort of stuff. I think a cool analogy I heard of it once was, if you imagine you're in like a football stadium, in terms of brain activity, the rapid eye movement sleep is like when someone kicks a goal and the crowd goes wild and there's noise everywhere. It's like a speckledy noise, like, you know, everyone's going woo in different directions, and it's just a lot of activity going on. Whereas non-rapid eye movement sleep is, imagine like a microphone dropped into the center of the stadium, and it just starts putting this wave of, you know, frequency out to the audience, and every part of the audience just starts aligning with this waving frequency, if that makes sense. So, I mean, you probably don't need to know that stuff, but it is interesting. So, some questions to ask yourself in terms of, do you need more sleep? So, are you productive, happy, and healthy on the amount of your sleep that you're currently getting? And, you know, like, actually ask yourself that question and be real with yourself. Are you where you want to be when it comes to your health, your happiness, your mindset, and your productivity levels on the current amount of sleep that you've got, that you're getting? Do you have any chronic health issues, including being overweight? If you've got any chronic issues, then more than likely, you're probably going to need to look at sleep. Are you at risk of any disease as well? You know, is there any hereditary factors, all that sort of stuff? Because a lot of the time, hereditary stuff isn't only, you know, chromosomal, it's lifestyle related, it's habits that we've picked up from generation to generation. Whoops. Are you experiencing any sleep problems? Do you need coffee to get you through the day? Are you dependent on it? And do you feel sleepy when you're driving? Do you start to nod off? This sort of stuff. So if you're noticing any of those things and you ask yourself those questions and a few things pop up, then it could definitely be a good idea to have a look at sleep. So what are some problems? And again, we've sort of started to go into them, but some big drivers of poor sleep. It can be going to bed and waking up at inconsistent times. So if we don't do the same, our bodies love a routine, and if we're constantly doing different things, it doesn't really know what to expect. It doesn't know when. You're not training it very well. Too much stress in our lives. Obviously, that's a big thing. And as we've seen with the cortisol melatonin cycles, if stress is a constant throughout the day, it's really going to push that up, and high cortisol is really going to ruin your sleep. You know, if you're waking up in the middle of the night and your mind turns on and this sort of stuff, if that's a frequent thing, cortisol is definitely too high. Not active enough during the day. If we sit at home all day, or if we don't do much, or if we're living at quite a, what's the word? Sedentary or boring lifestyle, we haven't really given ourselves much of a reason to sleep at night. Too much coffee, stimulants, etc. as well, especially in the afternoons. Alcohol before bed. Alcohol is a huge one for wrecking your sleep. It may sort of, a lot of people use it to take off the edge, or as their downtime, or as their thing that allows them to sort of disconnect a little bit. So it may help them get to sleep, but it really, really affects the later stages of REM sleep. And as you go through sleep cycles, REM sleep actually increases in the later cycles of your sleep. So if you're having broken sleep and all that sort of stuff, it resets. So basically, alcohol will affect you mentally in terms of your ability to psychologically repair while you're sleeping. Too much food and water before bed. Obviously, we don't really want to be digesting a big meal, or also up all night peeing. So that's not a good one. Then too much technology before bed as well. What we're talking about before, blue light, keeping us up and keeping us alert, and also reducing melatonin production. And then also an unoptimal sleeping environment. So, whether it's too much light in the room, if your curtains aren't blackout curtains and there's a little bit of light, or if there's no airflow, or if it's too hot, or if your bed and your doona and your sheets and whatnot, you don't really enjoy the experience of them, then that's definitely something to look at as well. So just quickly, I know I've talked a bit now, do you want to just chuck in the chat? Let's just say out of those things, in terms of your sleep, first of all, what would you rate your sleep on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being perfect, could not be any better. I sleep all night. I don't wake up. I wake up feeling fresh. I drift off easily. I'm elite when it comes to sleep, is a 10. and a 1 is, you know, it's terrible. I'm getting a couple hours sleep a night. It's really inconsistent. It's all over the place. So first of all, just where would you rate yourself here? I'll give myself a 7.5. And then also, of the problems we've talked about so far, which ones of those do you think are your biggest ones? Or if not, like, what do you think your biggest one is? All right. So Mandy's, it's shit. It's a 5. Josh is an 8. Josh, technology at night, sometimes alcohol helps me to sleep. John, a 6. Libby, a 6. And what do you reckon the biggest things that, you know, out of what we've talked about so far, what's come up for you? What have you realized that maybe is not helping your sleep? What habits do you have that are making it hard for you? Mandy, prob a few things because I'm a bit out of the desired routine. Non-smoking, yeah, that has meshed. That's going to create a lot of cortisol just from unfamiliarity as well. John, alcohol before sleep, most likely. Yeah, 100%. Cool. So you're starting to see a few things that you're really, you know, some problems that could be coming up. Technology, I think, is a really big one, even if we're watching TV and this sort of stuff at night. And having lights on us all the time is a big one. And also, I think, yeah, not switching off early enough, continuing being on too late into the day. All right, so let's keep going. So how do we improve our sleep? What are the solutions? We've talked a lot about the problems. How do we solve these? So have a schedule that you stick to each morning and night. This helps regulate our circadian rhythms. And basically we are creatures of routine. We love routine. We love consistency. You know, that's literally at the base of our human needs is certainty, consistency. So if our bodies will do what we train them to do. If we're all over the place, then sleep will be all over the place, and probably not only sleep, probably quite a few things in our life. So it may not always be perfect. Don't let perfect stop you from progressing, but think you want to have a reasonably consistent wake time and sleep time that you at least default back to. Of course, we have things that come up from time to time that, you know, mean that we're not perfect, but you want to have a consistent place that you default back to. Do the most stressful things early in the day. Manage stress better. Like definitely, yeah. Like honestly, like decide how your day is going to go the night before. Like honestly, make a plan for your day the night before so that it just flows and there's not as many stressful things that pop up. Or at least, if you know if your day is going to be hard to plan, have a bit of a strategy or a bit of set some intentions as to how you intend to navigate the things that will come up. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, all right, I know these are the things that tend to come up. What do I do when this happens? What do I do when this happens? So that rather than getting in reactive mode and having, you know, different moments throughout your day that will drive cortisol up, you can come at the whole thing a bit more consciously, and, you know, you can be a bit more of an observer of your experiences and just let it flow a bit more and make better decisions in the moment that drive better outcomes. And in terms of sleep, you know, drive less cortisol and allow you to sort of flow through your day a bit better. Hopefully that gives some value. So be more active and productive during the day instead of being lazy. So, you know, yeah, basically if you sit around all day and don't do a whole lot, then that's gonna not give you a huge reason to sleep. So do things, be productive, move your body, exercise, 100%, do something active every day. Cut stimulants around 12 or after 12 midday. So yeah, like I wouldn't recommend anyone to be having stimulants after midday. If you're sensitive, I'm sensitive. Like if I have a coffee, I feel like I'm on cocaine. I feel like I'm going nuts sometimes, like especially if I haven't had it in a while. Oh, coffee really is like, whoa, all right. Like if I've had a break. So like I'm pretty sensitive, and that's the same with most things. Like alcohol, if I have too much of that, that'll really get me going too. So think about it like, if you are sensitive, like listen to your body. But if like, yeah, definitely minimal stimulants, and really reducing it before 12 midday, or sorry, making it before 12 midday. Caffeine is another one of those things that has a poor half-life. So, you know, yeah, what have I said there? 9.5 hours it can take to leave your system. So if you're having a coffee at 12 and you want to be going to bed at 8 p.m, or, you know, maybe that's a bit early for you guys, but for me, I'll honestly try and be in bed by 9 o'clock ish. So yeah, that's an important one. The other thing with caffeine is it's really dangerous because it blocks adenosine receptors in your body. And adenosine is essentially like a molecule that builds up in your body as you get tired. And it's sort of, they call it sleep pressure. So the more adenosine that builds up, the more tired you're going to get. And essentially when it builds up to a point, you're just like, oh, I'm so tired, I've got to sleep. Then you sleep, it'll drop it back down, and then it'll slowly start to build up again and create sleep pressure. But when you're having caffeine constantly, it actually blocks adenosine receptors, so you don't get that feeling of sleep pressure or tiredness buildup. And what can sort of happen is if you're going caffeine, and then you stop, it just hits you like a truck. You know, holy crap, I'm wrecked. So another thing to be aware of. So some more solutions: reduce alcohol or even get rid of it. Yep, bloody oath. I think with alcohol, like the first thing, I mean, yeah, like it's really interesting one, because I think a good thing to do is really understand why you're having it, why you feel the need to have it. Maybe there's some unprocessed emotion, maybe there's some extra stress that you're avoiding, maybe there's some things that you are avoiding, and you know you feel like you need some external substance to make you feel good. So you know, like obviously it's not a beneficial thing long term. It might feel good in the moment, but yeah, understand why you're having it, and obviously it's a good thing to reduce it or even get rid of it and make it a less of a thing. I'm all for social drinking. I think it's an important part of our culture for sure. But it's like there's that tipping point where it becomes too much. And if you're drinking every night, you've probably passed that tipping point. So eat at least a couple of hours before you sleep. Like this has been actually a big one for me lately, is reducing the eating window. And I'm trying to have dinner like 6 p.m. latest. I was like, I don't know, a month ago, I was probably eating sometimes even at like 7:30, 8 p.m. But yeah, trying to eat a lot earlier will make a big difference. And also reducing your fluid intake before bed. If you are up all night peeing, like watch what you're drinking in the afternoon. Because that, well, like not in the afternoon probably, but at least a couple hours before bed, just reduce it. And don't worry if you go to bed feeling a little bit, you know, it'll probably feel a little bit different, maybe even a little bit thirsty. That's okay, especially if you're peeing all night. As soon as you get up in the morning, smash a heap of water. Really recommend that, because obviously, you know, we're up all night, well, we're sleeping all night, we're expiring air through our breath, we're sweating all night, etc. So great way to start the day is pump a heap of water in. You're yawning, John. You're a bit tired, mate.
Yeah, man, I need that coffee. Can't do it though. It's after 12. Can't do it.
True. I love it. So wind down properly at night. This is a really big one as well, especially around things like work and, you know, hard conversations, or like just different things that we have in our life. We'd all be aware of what they are for us individually that increase tension or increase cortisol levels within us. So yeah, really winding down properly at night. Setting some boundaries around technology. I actually don't have my phone in my room. I'm actually going to buy an electronic alarm clock. I need to do that, put that on the to-do list. Just because I don't want to be around it. I don't want to be around it from like 6 p.m. sort of thing, just to get rid of technology. Also, I don't want it to be the first thing I'm on when I wake up in the morning. I want to have a bit of present time and, you know, time to just connect and not have to, you know, deal with any of that kind of crap straight away. But yeah, so have some boundaries around that sort of stuff. Dim your house, even like your lights on your roof. Get some like halogen lights or like those lower frequency lights that are a lot dimmer, a lot more closer to natural light. Or even use rock salt lamps. We've got them pretty much in the bedroom and in the lounge room throughout the house to sort of light the house up with them at night. It looks really cool too, but obviously is good for winding down. And you know, yeah, maybe instead of being on social media or whatever, actually do something beneficial, like have a conversation with your partner, or have a phone call with a friend, or do something creative. Maybe play some music, or I don't know, do something that will really actually help you wind down. And then lastly, make sure your room is dark. So set up a good sleeping environment. Make sure there's airflow. Make sure it's cool, calm, quiet. Maybe even try some essential oils, that sort of thing, to make your environment good and relaxing and calming. You can even look at if you're struggling to get to sleep, or, you know, if you're waking up during the night, maybe some meditation. Use apps like Headspace or Insight Timer or Calm, I think is another one. Are some good apps to like just do some kind of meditation, or even look them up on YouTube. Yeah. So like in terms of going through all of those solutions now, let's just quickly go in the chat. Like, what are you going to do? What's one or two things that you can take from this and actually put into action that will improve your sleep? A nicotine spray makes you high. Constantly does. I get a buzz off it, but it does help with the cravings. 80's better. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of experience with the whole nicotine stuff, Mandy, but I think, yeah, it's just like when you create a drastic change, there's always that period of feeling a bit crazy or just feeling a bit overwhelmed and having I don't know, it's just really different. So your body will eventually neutralize. Just sounds like it's starting to get better. Livy, stop technology earlier. 100%. That's the goal. Definitely. Like, just put it in another room and don't touch it. Have a productive conversation with your husband instead. John, turn the phone on silent early, get an alarm clock. Yeah, yep, love it. Stop technology earlier. Yep, epic. Mandy? Nice.
It's
All right.
common.
Oh, yep. Sweet.
You know me. I've always got plenty to say.
Yeah, true. So Mandy, room has to be dark. Oh yeah, and eye mask. That's another one. If you struggle to get the room dark, then absolutely. Eat earlier. If I eat dinner earlier, it is better. Yep. Do a listen to YouTube on phone. Yeah, to get a meditation happening for sure. Yep, definitely. Love it all. All right, awesome. So yeah, basically, like, now that you know what's optimal, if you think I think a really good way to be able to navigate things is to know what's optimal. You know that aligning with circadian rhythms, the sun and the moon, you know that having a really good wind down period, doing things stressful earlier in the day and really letting it flow after that is optimal. You know that detoxing from technology and artificial light and all this, and anything that sort of keeps you switched on or alert in the night is a really good thing. Practicing some meditation, using some, you know all this sort of stuff now. I've just talked about it. So now that you really know that, you should know where you're falling short. And you should be able to see, all right, I can put some energy into these couple of things and it's going to make a difference for me. So like a thing that I'll always go on about is yeah, strive for perfect. Epic. Perfect's awesome. I consider myself a bit of a perfectionist, that I'll try and be pretty bang on with most things, like pretty much everything. But don't let that stop you from progressing. So if you feel like your sleep is way out, or if it's way off, or anything like that, just think little steps. Focus on what you know you can do, little things, and just integrate it. Nail it. and then and then progress to the next little thing and just get momentum and just have a growth mindset, and things will continue to improve. Change your habits and routines around sleep, even when you don't want to, and your sleep will improve. Simple as that.